Today I'm going to take on the hottest topic in golf. It's the number one thing that I hear above anything else. Golfers who come to me and say, I want to be more consistent. Let's get down to it. Let's talk about it. And let's find out if you can actually start to be more consistent in your golf game. It's the number one thing. Number one thing I hear. Golfers come to me and they say that they want to be more consistent. It doesn't matter if they're at the highest level, if they're a brand new golfer, whatever it is. They say they want to be more consistent. And oftentimes, or not oftentimes, every time what I ask is I ask them to define consistency for me and what that means in their golf game. And a very common answer that they get is that they want to make consistent contact. They want to have a consistent ball flight. They want to consistently hit greens. And I just hear this word over and over and over again. The way all of them go about it is absolutely wrong. And I'm going to give you a couple of reasons today why it's wrong and some things you can actually change to become more consistent. So I've got 4 of them here that we're going to dive into. Let's do it, because maybe the most important thing I want you to take away is this. If you want to be more consistent with the results of your golf shots, you need to start being a lot more consistent with everything you do leading up to that golf shot. And a lot of people hate that answer, but I'm telling you that the difference between exceptional players and average players and bad players is the things that they do leading up to those golf shots. So, number 1 is consistent preparation before your round. This is the lowest hanging fruit for so many people. We get the person who walks to a tee and they go, they put their hands up. Oh man, I'm so stiff today. And then they dribble one off the tee or they slice it out to the right and they spend the first 2 or 3 holes getting into their round. And then in the last couple of holes, they say, see, once I get warmed up, like I'm good. I'm a consistent player once I get my body moving, once I get warmed up. Well, why don't we pull that into the first part of our round and let's actually get consistently prepared for the way you feel at the end of your round. For the players who play 9 holes and they say, boy, I feel so nice and loose and I'm relaxed and all those different things on hole 6, 7, 8, 9, normally because their body's actually been in motion. Let's get our body in motion before our round. And it doesn't take a long time. You can get a dynamic warm-up in 5 minutes or 10 minutes. You don't even have to go to the range, but just a little bit of stretching, or let's get our body activated beforehand. But let's start to be consistent with preparing before our rounds. If you want to get better on the golf course, let's get better before we get to the golf course. Start warming up. Start taking care of your body. If you're the player that says it takes you a couple holes to get warmed up, I hope that I've offended you. And I hope that you'll start to take this a little bit more serious. Okay, that was the first one. Hey, thanks for listening to this podcast episode. If you're enjoying it, I have a favor to ask. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever it is, please make sure you subscribe. And also, if you could, just leave me a quick rating. The more ratings I get, the more people see this podcast. The more people see this podcast, the more motivated to put out more content just like this. And if you're watching on YouTube, if you could, please subscribe to my channel. Make sure you hit that bell to get notifications on when I drop more episodes. If you could like it, that'd be great. And if you have any questions or comments, please post them down below. I try to respond to every single one. Thanks again for your support. Now let's get you back to your podcast episode. The second thing I want you to get more consistent with is your process. Now, what do I mean by that? Golfers who want to be consistent with the results very often are very inconsistent with the routine. Whether they make a practice swing or they don't make a practice swing, whether they line up the same way, where they get up to the golf ball and they have 26 thoughts over the golf ball. Sometimes they just say, screw it and swing. That inconsistency in your process is causing you to have inconsistent results. I don't care which way you go. If you want to be someone that has no thoughts, that just walks up and hit it, great. If you want to be someone that just has a very regimented process, fantastic. But the thing so many of you can do to start getting better today is stop living and dying on a swing by swing basis. And every time you make 1 or 2 bad swings or have a couple of bad holes, you don't have to throw everything out. Find something that you're working on or that you want to think about and make that your focus, shot after shot after shot, round after round after round. Oftentimes what happens, we consume a lot of information, we consume a lot of content, we consume a lot of drills, and we try it 5 times, and if it doesn't work out perfect, we say, oh, screw it, that drill wasn't for me. Instead of trying everything a couple of times, I'd rather you try a few things for a lot longer period of time to get a better idea on if they're actually good or not. Oftentimes we're playing the long game, right? We're just hoping for incremental progress as we go. Let's not try 5,000 things. Let's try a couple different things. And one of them might just start, what do you want to do when you get up to the golf ball? Do you want to line up behind the golf ball? Do you want to make a practice swing? A couple of those things will start to get your mind to work in a consistent manner. I make a practice swing. I feel this drill. I go stand behind the golf ball. I step up to the ball. I make my swing. I hold my finish. That would be so much better to do round after round after round than when I get so often the feedback I guess players go, I don't know, I do something different every time. Okay, so you tell me that you want to be a consistent golfer, but you are extremely inconsistent in the process. Like, come on now. Let's be honest, that's not going to match up very good. So the second one is let's become more consistent in our process. The third one is a player wants to tell me that they want to be more consistent, and oftentimes that always means they're talking about their full swing. And the mistake that they make there is they do not analyze their rounds. They don't look back at the rounds that they've played to see what is my round actually telling me about where I'm losing my strokes. So if we want to become more consistent, which I think for a lot of players means consistently shoot lower scores, let's consistently analyze our rounds. And a couple of the easy ones that I'll put underneath this is when you look at your rounds right after you're done playing, what was the biggest opportunities? Right? Like number 1, are you losing too many golf balls off the tee? Number 2, what's your par 5 scoring like? Are we making bogeys and doubles on par 5s, or we should be making pars and maybe birdies? How many 3 putts do you have in a round? Number 4, how often are you getting up and down? Those are 4 quick ones under this consistently analyzing your game component that could very quickly highlight where your opportunities lie. And if you want to consistently shoot lower scores, let's become consistent at looking back at our rounds and finding out where we were good and where we were not good, and then consistently working on the things that are going to help us actually lower our scores. And for a lot of you, it's not 75 7-irons on the driving range. So let's become consistent on identifying the actual weakness in our game. Hey, here's a little secret. On every Thursday, I send an email with 2 things. My favorite golf tip of that week, and either a quote or stat or sometimes even a game that you can use when you practice. I don't want you to miss it. The next one's coming on Thursday morning. Make sure you check the link in the description. Sign up for my newsletter because on Thursday, the next one's coming. Now let's get you back to your video. All right. The fourth one, players want to be consistent. That means there's not a whole lot of change, right? They want to do everything good every single time. Then let's become more consistent at controlling our emotions and quote unquote our mental game. Okay, that's number 4. Let's have consistent emotion and control of our mental game. And this sometimes, like the easy one is when we're not playing well, the negative self-talk and all those things we tell ourselves we stink. All those negative things can really throw us off. But then the tricky thing is on the other side is once we start to play well, we start to puff our chests a little bit. We get a little bit too pumped up, and then sometimes that can derail us. I think that an opportunity for so many golfers is let's become consistent at handling the results that happen. Because if we go back to some of these other ones, especially when it comes to our process, what happens is we let our emotions get in the way, and let's say we have a tough start, a couple of bad holes, and then we abandon our process because we're too frustrated, we're too pissed off, and then we say, screw it, I'm just going to do whatever. Or on the vice versa, where we make 2 or 3 birdies in a row and we're maybe on the cusp of shooting our lowest 9, or we've shot our lowest 9 ever and we want to keep it going, but then our process starts to speed up and then we start to abandon it in the way that we go about it. So if we look at things that we want to do consistently to hopefully consistently shoot lower scores, I would love if we could start becoming better at consistently managing our emotions and our mental game. And I've talked about it before, but the easiest way we can do that is that next shot up mentality. The shot we just hit, or the hole we just had, or the 9 we just played, all that is now in the past. And taking too much of that past will now force us or will hurt us, because that'll throw us off of our process of worrying about the next golf shot that's in front of us. I think that's a huge opportunity, and to be honest, I should have probably put this one at the top. But if we look at it, players tell me they want to be consistent. They want to consistently shoot lower scores. But if there's something we consistently don't do, is ever anything the same? So if I was to summarize, what are the things that I need you to do more consistently to help with your end goal? Number 1, let's consistently prepare before our round of golf. Let's warm up. 10 or 15 minutes, let's make some swings, a dynamic warm-up. I understand you might be rushing after work, but I need you, if you want to quit complaining about your scores, you want to be more consistent, you can at least commit 5 or 10 minutes to get yourself organized before a round of golf. Number 2 is consistent through your process. What is your pre-shot routine? I don't care if it's elaborate or if it's not, but let's do it every single time, regardless of good shot or bad. Let's get more consistent on that thought process. Number 3 is a consistent analysis of your golf game. After your round, spend a few minutes, talk to your coach, send me your scorecard if you want, and I'll tell you what you got to work on. Going through some key things that we talked about earlier about where are you actually losing shots and where should your focus be if you have time to practice in a pre-round warm-up. And then number 4, let's be more consistent with the way that we manage our emotions and our mental game. It's a next shot up mentality. We don't look back, we only look forward. And that shot in front of us gives us our undivided attention. All right? The players that we look up to, oftentimes there's things that they do that we don't always see. And I can guarantee you, for those of you that say you want consistency, there's 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 things I just mentioned here, that if you start to clean up even just a little bit, the tide's going to start to turn. And you might see a little bit more progress in your golf game, or at least a way to understand what you have to work on to play better golf, to hopefully become a little bit more consistent in this inconsistent game to shoot lower scores. Those are my thoughts. I hope you enjoy them. If you have any feedback, please let me know. We'll catch you next time. Happy golfing.